Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, God bless. I'm going to keep doing it. It's funny in my head, which is enough, innit, sometimes. So, have you all been? You've been okay? I'm sure you have, hopefully. Good to see you're out of hospital. We have a subscriber who was commenting on videos while I think she was in hospital. Anyway, she's out of hospital now. Thank goodness, eh? Good. You're on the mend. Good. I'm sort of, well, not giggling, I'm smiling to myself. I like reading the comments, I really do. And everybody is always, pleasant. Or at least, gives positive comments, which is fine. Everybody, which is good. I don't mind people having a negative comment, Cheryl, on some of our videos when Cheryl was doing try-ons, do you like this top? Do you like this dress? What do you think of this handbag? All that sort of thing. We did have one or two, I assumed, lads would send lewd comments. You would have never seen them because the analytics or the policies, I suppose, that Cheryl can choose on her channel wouldn't allow them to be made public if certain words are used, and she got quite a few of them. They're easily just blocked. So why do I mention that? Well, I'm smiling to myself. So somebody did make a comment and said, I'm paraphrasing, Mike, do you ever worry that Cheryl will leave you? And I know that some others who were other subscribers or commenters, as it were, commentators, is that the right word? Anyway, sort of were a little bit concerned about how I would feel about the comment, and they commented on that comment that was made. Well, and I was going to show Cheryl the comments, that were made, but I went to the comment section and it had all gone, which was a shame, really. Yeah, so how did I feel about that comment? Well, it depends. I sort of went through, I think, 3 different emotions. First of all, I didn't mind the comment. It's a question. I think it was valid, to be fair. Cheryl's an attractive, lot younger woman, and yeah, blokes, and I suppose you lasses worry about such things, or at least it crosses your mind now and again or something. So I didn't mind the comment, to be honest with you. I didn't mind the comment, and then I did mind the comment, and then I didn't mind the comment, because you can do that, can't you? But I thought it was fair, and I thought it was a shame it was taken off. I don't think reading, and I think it was a gentleman's comment, I don't think he meant anything nasty. I think it was a genuine question, I do. If I'm wrong, fine, but I do, and I hope that he comments again and hasn't, unsubscribed or whatever that might be. So yeah, and I'm smiling to myself because as I said it to Sharon, she said, "You're joking." And then within 2 minutes, because this is what she said, "Oh, yeah, okay. And I said to her, well, it's all right, people worrying, or, might be concerned that you might leave me, but what about the other way around? I might leave you, I mean, look at me, you know, good looking lad, got a tremor, bad legs, bad hips, diabetes, just getting over cancer. I'm quite a catch, aren't I? So, yeah, no, yeah, I think Cheryl should be concerned occasionally whether or not I might run off, with somebody, a woman. Get that straight. Some time ago, actually, it was some time ago, maybe, it might be 8 years ago. Don't time fly? But as a joke, and we had a couple of friends at that point as well. Cheryl said, I'm going to put Mike on eBay and we'll let people know. And she might have even put it on her Facebook. Nobody bid on me. There was 50p involved. But I can't remember why 50p was involved. But anyway, so yeah. Yeah, I mean, it goes without saying, of course, I'm not going to believe in Cheryl. A swap, maybe a swap, nice Jaguar, big Jag XK8, 4.2 engine. Bodywork would have to be good, and the paint finish would have to be superb, Yeah, it'd have to be mechanically sound, run well. So yeah, maybe a swap that way. Maybe. Can't think of it. Yeah, I don't like the new Bentleys, you see. Or the Rollers, the Rolls Royce. Yeah. An older Bentley, maybe. Quite like those. Yeah. So maybe a swap, And crackers in it. So do I ever worry about it? No. And the main reason is, if the people are not happy in a relationship, for whatever reason, then you wouldn't want somebody staying with you if they weren't happy. If they weren't happy with you, would you? Really? I mean, this is life, and it's not a rehearsal. So I wouldn't worry about it that way. I'd be emotional. It would take me some time to get over if she did. A week, maybe 2, Yeah. So, yeah. But, yeah. Anyway, whoever made the comment wasn't a big issue. It didn't get me thinking. It crosses your mind now and again if the person you're with is happy and okay with things. That's why we make the effort, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, there you go. That's sort of, I hope, answered. I'm still thinking about that Jag, A nice British racing green Jag. Mind you, where would I put it? I wouldn't have anywhere to put the thing, would I? Wouldn't have a drive. Couldn't live here, could I? And all that, Couldn't live here with all this continuing DIY that I've done and renovation over the last year. Wouldn't be able to carry on with that. Wouldn't be able to carry on papering and painting, tiling and doing bits of timber. All that would be gone, wouldn't it? Sorry, I'm not thinking it through. I'm just wondering. It's warmer in Florida, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. So So let's think of something else. I might have a quick look at your comments and just quickly go through them. We'll do that a little bit. Yeah, all right. Yes, I had a quick reminder as I went and had a look at the comments. Photography. I did photography for years. I have thousands of photos. Some of them good, some of them passable. But like many, what you do is, if you want to take a good photo, yeah, you've got to have an eye for it. You also need a bit of good kit, and so the bit of good kit I had for the camera was, including one lens, was about £2,500, and then other lenses would be £800, £1,000, a couple of good tripods. So I used to do, I've taken photos both in a studio that I had, but I did like wandering around with a camera, particularly the landscapes, London, Yorkshire Dales, Dubai, that sort of thing. There's always something to take a photo of. I do wish that while I was into all of that, I'd have done videos, because they're more interesting than a photo sometimes, aren't they? Don't mean of landscapes, but of other things. So I wish I'd have taken more videos. No, I don't do photography now. First of all, because I don't want to spend, £3,500 on a camera and a lens. I don't want to do that. I can't do that, really. And the other thing, I would always need a tripod and a remote control, to work the camera, because I can't hold the camera even on a tripod. You can't hold the camera on a tripod. It will still shake. What I used to do was put a camera on a tripod, set a timer on it, press the shutter, and then let go, and I'd have 5 seconds, and then it would take the photo. That's fine for landscapes mostly, but for other work it's not, And I don't really want to carry, the cameras are quite heavy, the big 35mm digital cameras are quite heavy, and a good tripod, which I've still got, that's heavy. Use that now and again for making these videos. So no, but thanks to everybody who's enjoying the photos. I do like showing them, I do. So I won't be taking photography back up. Attendance allowance, no. I'm really not that bad, Yeah, that's another reason, you see. Who would Cheryl look after? She wouldn't have anybody to look after, would she? Make my tea. Sometimes make my tea. If I have sausage, egg and chips, she's got to cut up the sausages. So she wouldn't have anybody to look after. So there's another good reason. So no to attendance allowance. Other comments, I'm just remembering, I might have to cut this a bit. Oh, yeah, that was an interesting comment. Somebody said, do I regret sharing our wealth, I should say. I think I said mine. Do we regret sharing our wealth? Oh, that's, yeah, we have spoken about this, me and Cheryl. Ooh, difficult, that one. So, what do we mean by wealth? Well, not millions. We earned good money. I don't know whether I should say how much we earned. I can't remember how much we paid in tax or national insurance, but tax was a big bill about 4 times a year. I think tax was about, and I'm kind of guessing, I think tax was around £5,000 or £10,000 a quarter. It wasn't a month, I don't think. We had a really good income, put it that way. Without saying too much. Was it 1 million? It was more than that over a period of time. Do I regret it? Do we regret it? Well, I'll speak for myself. No. Who did we share it with? Immediate family, that's fine. You do that. Others, depends who they were. Yeah. So I think if there's a short answer, if there is, I don't think we do regret sharing. We made a couple of mistakes with different people. At least one of them quite a big mistake, to be honest. I can't go into that. And the other one, it nearly ended a friendship, but it didn't. Thank goodness we're still friends with that person. As I say, friends. I grew up with 2 of the lads as a child, as a kid. We were the 3 of us born more or less down the same street, grew up in the same area, went to the same schools. And then I got 2 other lads when I got into high school, I think, the last school you go to. They were good mates. I think I spoke about one of them, and we used to meet in the middle of the night, like 1:30 in the morning, go for a walk around Hull in the streets. Anyway, they were good mates. So I think you're lucky if you have one good friend, you're doing well. I think if you've 2, great. Depends what you call friends, isn't it? What are friends? I don't know actually. I think it is true, people do say that a good friend, you cannot see them for years, and then you see them again, maybe have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or something, and it's like you've saw them yesterday, Yeah, I think that's true. I've certainly had that. Do I have any friends at the moment? Camera stopped, never mind. So yeah, I don't have any friends. That's not unusual, I don't think, for blokes. I don't think. You tell me otherwise if I'm wrong. I've had some good friends in the past, schoolmates, and then teenage years. A friend of mine some years ago now, he died in a car crash. I can't remember where he was, Saudi, Pakistan, can't remember. It was, anyway, car crash, and he died. Very sad. He was a close friend of mine. I'm not sure how, if he thought I was a close friend of his. One of them, you get that, don't you, sometimes? Yeah, with some really good laughs. It got me through some difficult times, to be fair. But the strange thing is, it's not strange, but he was a head of health and safety for a refinery somewhere. I was head of health and safety for another company. But we would often, I was going to say get things wrong. No, we found ourselves in situations. For instance, there was a lad laid unconscious and we both arrived at the scene first. This isn't funny when I think of it, but it was funny 5 minutes later. And I tried to, wake the lad up if he was unconscious, or he might have been sort of semi-conscious. And I said to him, "Can you tell me your name?" Now, Dave, who was my mate, he said, "Oh, it's John," and told me his name. And I said, "Yeah, but I'm asking him because I'm trying to, find out if he's any memory loss, if he's been unconscious, concussion, that." And David said, "Oh yeah, I understand that, but I do know him, and that's his name." So me and Dave were having this 5-minute conversation together, and this poor lad's laid between us. He was fine, but yeah, it's not funny when you had to be there, I suppose. But yeah. Anyway, that was Dave, but he died, I think it's 10 years ago now. It was I used to teach safety, and I used to teach about 30 lads and lasses who were going into the workplace every day, 5 days a week, and I did that for about 2 years. And I was running this special course one evening, it was. And Dave, was the first time I ever met him, was in, it was one of the classes it were. And I was telling the story about a lad who'd been killed at work and what had happened to him, and it wasn't nice. And we were going through the assessment of risk and such like, and control measures. And then suddenly this lad at the back stood up and walked out the class, and I looked and I thought, that was odd. Never thought much more of it. But the lad who I was talking about, being killed at work, the lad who walked out the room, it was his brother who had been killed in the workplace. And of course, the lad who walked out the room was Dave, So we got talking about that, and what a small world it is. And David had entered the world, the profession of occupational health and safety. For that reason, he wanted to know more about it, and he became, as I say, head of health and safety. It took about 15 years for a company, and some good money, did Dave. But this was right at the beginning of it. He also, after class, it was evening, and he said, "Oh, shall we, you fancy a pint?" And I said, "Yeah, let's go for a pint." He said, "Oh, good, can you lend me a tenner?" That was Dave, Anyway, we hit it off. That's the point of it. So going back to what we were talking about, because I do wonder a little bit. Do I regret sharing my wealth or our wealth? No. Do I regret spending the money that we did? Yes. That's different, isn't it? That's a slightly different question. Could we have done better in the way of savings? Yeah, but like a lot of people in our position as we were, and there was no reason for that wealth to come to the end other than me and Cheryl getting tired of working. I mean, a 12-hour day was every day. It came from a business, and the first year or more, we would put 15 hours a day in easily, to try and get this business going, get it off the ground. And we earned very little. Gosh, it was hard times for about 2.5 years. Eventually the business took off. We would earn £15,000 a month, but you can also spend 15 grand a month. Well, you've got half that goes in tax. and national insurance, so, you know. And then what you end up doing, I mentioned the big house we had. One Christmas, just to put this into context, our gas bill, and now I'm going back probably 12 years ago, our gas bill in the house, we had a lot of parties, was £2,000 for the month. All you do, you just end up spending more. You know, that's the conclusion I've come to. And if you have, let's say you have £1 million a month coming in, and you spend £1,001, then you're not rich, you're poor. So if you've £1,000 a month coming in and you spend £1,001, you know, you've got to put it all in context there. And we would buy Christmas presents for people, well, £200 or £300 at a time, and there was maybe 15, 20 people. That wasn't unusual. And there's your problem, you see, because I know somebody who, they send me a tenner every year, and honestly, it's the best gift I can get, and I'll tell you for why. Not £10, I understand that, but that's 10% of what they get a week. Well, if I gave, you know, somebody 10% of what we were earning back then, that'd be £1,500. Do you see what I mean? Anyway, do I regret spending? Yes. I think we could have planned for the future a lot better than we did. Losing our jobs was a bit heavy. And it was about the money. I'm not going to detract from that. But it was more about the insecurity of it, you know, particularly at my age. I mean, Cheryl's 53, I think. I often get it wrong. She might be 52. But anyway, yes, it was about the money. It was about the insecurity. That really hit me hard. Growing up with nothing, money is important. It is. Money, what money does, it gives you choices, you know, of what you're going to do, what you're going to spend. I had 3 cars. Personally, I had 3 cars at one point. Cheryl had one. Cheryl's lad, my stepson, is that right, stepson? Yeah. We bought him a car. That was $5,500. But during that time, I had a 2-year-old Mercedes S-Class, and I had 2 Jaguars, you know. Where was I going with that? Yeah, what money does, it gives you choices. We went to Dubai. Now I had 13 visits to Dubai. What we used to do was mix a holiday up with a bit of work that I had out there. Business, you can call it, was work. 13 times. At one point, we used to go business class, and business class was £2,500 per ticket. So if me and Cheryl went, there's £5,000 just to fly. What is it? I'll give it 7.5 hours and back. It was return ticket. So £5,000. I regret that. I think that was, you know, but it was, you just spend it, don't you? You'll be the same. No, I don't mean everybody, but you sort of, you don't live to your means, as people say. You just spend. Oh, you know, at least we did. Not everybody. So yeah, losing our jobs, going back to that, the insecurity of it was the worst thing for me. Cheryl's probably still young enough, although she was hurt by it, because we lost our jobs in the business that we started and we grew, and we sold that business to somebody who didn't look after it, had very little interest in it, and then closed it suddenly. So if you're that way inclined that sort of thing hurts you, didn't me, but I think it did show, plus income gone, security, and all the rest of it. I forgot what I was talking about now. Anyway, I kind of made my point, haven't I? Do I regret some of the spend? Yes. Do I regret helping others or treating them most of the time? No, not really. Maybe one, maybe two, but what are you going to do? It's life, isn't it? It's just life. You get on with it, don't you? One way or another. Yeah, so I've answered that, I think, about the regret of giving away money. The comments about attendance allowance, I don't know if I've just said this, to be honest, but no, well, I'm fine at the minute, so I'm not going to apply for that. What were the other comments? I mean, people will generally comment about enjoying the videos, and that's good, and I hope you do. And the photos are fantastic, I've mentioned that, and I'm glad you do. Yeah, and somebody said, I asked the question, at what age did you know who you were? And somebody said that they had been a different person depending on where they were in their life and what they were doing. That struck a chord with me, absolutely, yeah. And for me it was about the jobs. I was a different person with each of the jobs, and as my role and responsibilities grew, so I was part of a team at one point for safety. Okay, took that very seriously. Worked up through the ranks over 20 odd years, 30 years, and became chief exec and head of health and safety. I was a different person there, and then we started the business, and I was a different person then, Plus, of course, I was getting older. So that struck a chord. Whoever said that they'd worn a different mask at different times, struck a chord. And I think I said on that video that I think I settled into who I was or who I am when I was 60, and a lot of people reflected back. Other people were saying, well, it's too difficult a question, yeah. And others a bit younger, a bit older were saying this was about when I thought this is the person I am. So I'm glad I asked the question, to be honest. I might have to think of another one, another question like that. Did that answer anything about monies and what have you? It's difficult to put it in context because I would have to go through of each of my jobs and lifestyle, and that would take an awful lot of doing that, and I don't think people would be interested in, or that much interested in it. Yeah. Anyway, I'll have a cig, cup of tea, because I ain't quite stopped smoking, by the way. And I'll tell you a little bit about what happened on Friday evening, just gone. It's Sunday today, and you'll be watching this tomorrow. And then I'll tell you what I'm going to get up to for the rest of this week. Oh, I might give you an update on the van if I remember. Okay. somebody commented that it's a different world today than it was in the 50s, 60s, 70s. I knew the 60s and 70s, obviously the 80s, 90s, etc. But it is a different world now. I know a level of poverty back then. I don't see it now. It might be out there, and perhaps now I'm just not seeing it. I don't live in a slum area anymore, you know. But as a kid, of course, we did. I say, of course, I don't know. In my world, of course, we lived in a slum area as children. And there was frost on the inside of the windows. And it's true that if you had a glass of water beside your bed, it used to have frost on the top of it, ice. It was like that. We had one coal fire, 2 up, 2 down. And that was for the whole house, you know. That's not unusual. I'm not saying it was unusual or not, but so I think the world today, I can't speak for the world, can I? I think where we live in the UK mostly now, that level of poverty is rare, you know. Like down our street, when I was growing up, let's say there was 100 houses. Well, 98 of them were all in the same boat. You know, mum and dad was skint, or just mum was skint, because dad was absent. Maybe 2 families down the street out the 100 were doing okay, you know, dressed well, ate well, all of that. The rest of us were poor, didn't know. I didn't know we were poor. How on earth did I know? You know, I used to kick a football about, you know. I didn't know about the world, not really. Well, I say that, I'll tell you a story. We were poor, my dad was absent. Some of the time, no, a lot of the time, growing up until me being 12-ish. No, 11. Anyway, so I remember once going into town, so city centre, with my mum, yeah, and she used to go into town to do a bit of food shopping at a place called Fletcher's. If you know, well, you would not know Hull, but Fletcher's, I'm sure it was a northern thing, I don't know. It was a bakery, you know, and sold cold meats. But we'd often walk through some of the nice department stores, as we now call them, I think, don't know. We'll shop in malls now, but these were just single stores, huge stores like Debenhams. And I remember my mum saying to me, do you want an ice cream? Now, I'm trying to think how old I would have been. 5, maybe 6. No older. Probably a bit younger. And my mum said, do you want an ice cream? And I looked at her and I said, no, I'm fine. Don't want an ice cream. You know. Okay, and off went. I did want an ice cream. I did. I was a kid. But even then, I knew that mum had no money. I mean, I remember once was out with her and she was trying to sell some teaspoons. They must have been silver. And so she took them to a little shop, I don't know, jewellers or something, and that got a few pennies, you know. I remember going into council offices and I couldn't go in, I had to wait on steps outside. But she came in, you know, came out, eyes full of tears, didn't get any money there. You know, it wasn't an automatic thing that you got. on a funnier side, and I don't know if I told you this before, but things must have been okay, and Dad was at home one Christmas, it was, and they'd been to a local shop on Springbank and bought me a bike. Whew, wow. I mean, that was really something, you know, and I loved that bike. It was red and it was a brand Viking. It was this bike, and it had 5-speed and a derailleur. It was a racing bike. But every time Mum was skint, let's say Dad left, yeah, the bike would go into pawn shop and she'd get a bit of money for it. But looking back, she must have got the bike on tick, you know, HP or whatever it was from the shop. So I think she used to take the bike in, pawn the bike, I have no idea money-wise, and then go and pay that Mum's HP on it, you know. And then, of course, things had to become right again, and so that she could then get the bike out of pawn shop so that I could play on my bike. That stopped eventually, you know, and I had my bike, but yeah. So, broke, skint, yeah. I think things are better now, generally, and gosh, they should be. The money this country earns, you know, because it does. We're a very wealthy country. It's just been badly managed, in my opinion. Very badly managed, and has been for some time. The thing is, I used to run a business, and, you know, I was head of that business, and I had managers sat at the board table. I've been what they call a named competent person for other businesses. One of them was an NHS business, big organisation, you know. So you know if people are doing their jobs as they should do. Would the government of today, or even previously, to be honest, in a lot of cases, would they keep their jobs in the private sector? Would they sit on that board and the MD, managing director or chairman, whatever it is, say to them, how are things in your section? Well, this is what, you know, right, you're fired. You see, you couldn't have the level of incompetency there is in the government in a private business, because either the business would just fail because of people's incompetency or not doing their jobs, you know, or the business would run into trouble, that people would be sacked, gone, you know. None of this. You can't have this thing where people say, this is what I'm going to do. In fact, I have a term for them. They are gonna do's, you know. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. You've got to get on and get it done, whatever it might be. And you've got to have firm policies. Oh gosh, I've gone off on one. I shouldn't really. But I didn't name any particular flavour, did I? Whether it be Conservative or Labour. But they're the ones who I was talking about. Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't mean to go off on one that way. We was talking about poverty, weren't we? Back in the day of poverty. Yeah. I think people's expectations are very high now. You know, I know when I first got married, we had nothing, and things were bought over a period of time, and everything was used. We had to buy things used, whether that was the cooker, the oven, stove, or a sofa, whatever it was. I remember spending 3 hours cleaning a pram. I can't remember what they were called now, like a fold-up pram. 3 hours, we bought it for whatever it was, £2.50, I don't know. And let's say they were £40 new. But it was filthy, it was in a mess. And I remember spending 3.5 hours cleaning that so that it looked nice, you know, and it was safe to be used. I don't think that's the case anymore, is it? People expect this instant life kind of thing. It's expected and it's sometimes demanded of, you know. If you haven't got the latest microwave or air fryer or, I don't know, car, I don't know. But it's sort of expected that all the niceties that you would normally spend 10 years gathering around you to make a home, it seems to me that people just think, oh, that's what I want, that's what I'm going to get, you know. Mistake, I think. Do you think? I don't know. But it is a good thing that that is available, and in a lot of cases it can be got. That's a good thing. The thinking behind it is what I think is slightly wrong, you know. Don't make any sense. I don't know. Friday night was when this Stone Claudia came over. I know the French pronounce it different. I can't remember. Anyway, it's Claudia. And it rained a lot, didn't it? You know, even where we are, East Riding of Yorkshire, it rained a lot. And you know, we still haven't had the roof repaired. Well, the drip, drip, drip started, but got worse and ran across the ceiling. And I just got settled in bed. You know, I had my bag of goodies. I was watching bits of YouTube, started watching a film, and you know when you've had a week of it and all you want to do is chill out, just relax, you know. Anyway, we both sorted that out. But, and as you'll see on next Sunday's video, we decided to evacuate our bedroom. This is on a Saturday. So we've 4 rooms upstairs, one of them's the bathroom. And literally we moved Cheryl's office and sewing room into a little front bedroom, moved that bed into our bedroom, the little bed, and then made a bedroom in what was Cheryl's office and dressing room. We've never stopped all weekend. And it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, if you can see that, on a Sunday. And Cheryl's still busy. She's not had a weekend at all, really, you know. But she's still at stuff with to tidy and clean and, you know, and move stuff, basically. So that's what I was up to. The video next week shows all of that. I might put a clip on here for you, just so a bit of interest. And I've got this week coming planned. So you're watching this on a Monday. The rest of this week, got busy week again, you know. I'm going to try and do this splashback near the cooker and finally get all that fitted. We've been discussing tiling and jobs that are left for Cheryl to do, which is enough of them. I'm hoping that we can finally get a roofing company turn up and fix the roof. It's going to be dear. I went up in the loft and I've got a bit of footage of that with Chelsea on next Sundays, and just had a good look. I had to get from A to B through the loft hatch, right across the loft. There's joists to stand on, so I have to be very careful where my legs are, you know, not what they should be, really. But anyway, I got up there and had a good look, and I thought, ooh, it's not. I mean, you get a hole in your roof. It's, there's damage to the felt. There's a bit of damage to the woodwork, and where they've put a bit of frame in the loft, it's not good. Somebody repaired it before, and it's a bodge. I tell you how bad it was. Where they've had this leak and it looks like it's been repaired, there's usual loft insulation, but underneath it is an old carpet, and they've put that there because of the drips that were coming through. Yeah, sorry, the camera stopped, but they'd put a carpet, somebody had previous owner probably, just to take up the worst of the drips. Anyway, I don't know why I'm telling you all that. You'll see it all next week, won't you? Next Sunday if you're watching. That's good. It's good that you'll watch it. I mean, not good that we've got a drip in the loft. I was in the loft. I'm not a drip. Was I a drip in the loft? Or maybe it was. Maybe I am, Anyway, I've got a nice cup of tea. So yeah, I've got another busy week ahead of me, but I can't go too, I can only do so much. But you'll get to see all of that on a future video. Fingers crossed and all the rest of it. So, yeah. I better end this here. I've never stopped talking, have I? Just yappering on. So, I'll put some videos on at the end. Some photographs on at the end. What I have noticed is that I put the photos on at the end, but then the channel's set up so that another video comes up on the screen of ours if you want to watch it, and that hides the photos. So I'm going to put more photos up, but only so that at least you get to see some of them that I've put up. And of course I'm putting more at the beginning as well, so I hope you enjoy those. I might put a couple up of when I was a kid, teenager, if I can find them. That's the worst of it. I've been looking for the ones of the big house that I promised I'd put up. I can't find them at the minute. I will do. I've got about 6 external hard drives that I used to keep all my photos on, and I've been going through those and trying to find interesting photos for you and for me. I like looking at them as well. So yeah, so I'll get that done. Right, I don't think there was anything else today. I think we've caught up quite well, haven't we? Had a good catch up, some good comments from you. I've replied to as many as I can, of course. Yeah, keep your comments coming. As you probably gathered, I do look through them. And don't worry too much about what you're asking. I think as Cheryl said, we are quite open. There's some things, obviously, I won't talk about. This is the thing, when you have a channel like this, like mine and Cheryl's, where it's turned from Cheryl doing clothing try-ons and walking and around Scarborough and showing you Scarborough and some of the holidays we've had, it's turned into, out of necessity, about our lives, mine going through my 60s and Cheryl going through her 50s, which is why this channel's called Cheryl Life at 50, So we're sort of putting it out there, aren't we? So I do expect sometimes we'll get comments that won't quite be what we're hoping for, but so far I haven't had any issues with any comments. And as far as me swapping Cheryl for a Jaguar XK8 or something, it's not going to happen. The big Jags take a lot of running, don't they? Bit expensive. So, no, I'm not going to do that. Right, I better let you get on. I keep saying that. Go get yourselves a cup of tea. Relax, enjoy your week best you can. I'll look forward to chatting to you. Well, it'll be on Sunday coming, and then Mike on Monday next week. If I have enough going on, I'll put one out on Friday again, if I have enough going on. I'm half hoping not to have enough going on. I'm exhausted at the minute, to be honest. Mike, sit down. I haven't stopped. Stop complaining. Okay, I will. Right. See you all next week. Take care. See you soon.